What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. And today's subject, as you saw, is dating is cooked here in Medellin in 2026. So this video is not going to be scripted in any way, shape, or form. I'm just giving you my raw thoughts and experience and the time that I've lived here in Medellin. You might hear me say sometimes Colombia, but when I say Colombia, I'm mainly referencing to Medellin. Now, one of the things that I would say is enticing a lot of guys to come out here to pursue love or to date women out here in Medellin is one is the beauty, but two is social media. And the first thing that I want to say is that a lot of what you're seeing on social media is not real. You're being lied to. That a lot of these content creators, especially like the live streamers and stuff like that, they are mostly dealing with pay-for-play women, or they're paying women to be on their videos or streams. I promise you, dating here is not that easy, and it's something I'm going to cover in this video. I've lived here since December 2023, so a little over 2 years now, and I was single majority of that 2 years. And this is not necessarily because I couldn't find women to date or anything like that. It's just I wasn't finding girlfriend material. And that is something that I think a lot of you guys need to, I guess, come to a realization with, that a lot of the girls here in Medellin are not girlfriend material. They're not wifey material. And it's one of the reasons why you have so many single women here that are beautiful, as well. Why you have so many women in their 40s, late 30s, or 30s and 40s that are single. Because a lot of the women here in Medellin are not wifey material. And I'll get into that. But one of the things that I want to point out as well is that, as I said, a lot of these guys are paying women to be in their streams. A lot of these women that you see online that are saying, "Oh, well, in Colombia we say papacito, we don't say baby," or whatever. Plug any IG model or creator or girl on TikTok that's making content. A lot of those women they're playing on the fantasy of a Colombian woman to sell content. They're selling their OnlyFans or something along the lines of that, or they're trying to monetize themselves. So one of the things here as well is that I have not, in the time that I lived here, I've not seen any black men with any of the stereotypical paisa women that you would consider an 8, 9, or 10, that they're not paying for, like the real classic beauty, beautiful woman. I have not seen local black men or foreigners black men with any of the typical really, really, really beautiful paisa women. I've seen local Colombians with them, and I've seen white men with them, but I have not seen any black men with them. Now, another thing as well is that a lot of you guys are rushing to come to Colombia to date either average or low quality women. And I'm going to say that again. A lot of you guys are rushing to Colombia to date average looking women or low quality women. And what do I mean by that? Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of the average looking women here are very pretty. Maybe even slightly prettier than, some of the prettier girls in the United States. But a lot of you guys are coming out here to date low quality women. And I've seen a lot of guys who online will say, "Oh, well, I wouldn't date a woman with a lot of tattoos or a nose ring, or a girl with kids, or a girl who's a prostitute, or a girl who does OnlyFans or whatever." And yet I've met time after time, guys here that are dating those type of women. I've met more than one guy on more than one occasion who is dating a woman who has kids who said, "Oh man, I always said I wouldn't date a woman who have a kid, but out here in Colombia, if she's pretty, they make the exception." And a lot of times, that's the only way you're going to get a girl who is extremely pretty out here is if you're making an exception, where you're dealing with what most men would consider lower class women. As I said, that's going to be the women who have kids because it's a lot of women out here, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. They're so pretty and they're so pretty that if they got kids, you start imagining yourself playing catch with their son or going to the park with their daughter. Like they're that fine where, you start considering like, oh shit, I may deal with her just to, even though she got a kid because the reality of it is that, and a lot of guys think I'm exaggerating when I say this number, is that 80% of women here in Colombia, not just Medellin, in Colombia, have kids. So more than likely, you're going to be dealing with a single mom out here at some point in time. It's just the harsh reality of it. Majority of the women out here have kids. And especially here in Medellin, a lot of these women are heavily tattooed. So you're going to get that. You're going to get women that have a lot of tattoos. Now, I don't really have anything against tattoos. With some women, it can look sexy, but in general, I prefer, to not have a woman who's completely tatted up. But here in Medellin, it's kind of the culture. You'll get a lot of women who have, that's heavily tatted. The other thing is that, you're going to get a lot of women out here who are beggars. That whole begging culture is a thing here as well. I've had a friend who he went on maybe two dates with a girl. Their second date was supposed to be going to a movie, and this girl flat out asked him, "Can they go to this certain mall here to buy iPhone 15 or 16, whatever one was out at the time?" And he was like, "Nah, this is our second date or whatever." And a lot of girls like to do this out here as well is they like to be like, "Oh, well, let me borrow the money and I'll pay you back." And that's another thing, fellas, is that here in Colombia, and this goes for men and for women, if anybody asks to borrow money, you're not getting that money back. So don't, if it's a friendship with somebody or it's a girl that, you think you want to continue talking to and she's cool, don't lend them money. That you're not getting that money back. So, and I've had other friends who've learned that the hard way. Me, in general, I've just never been the type of person to lend money. So, I always figure if you got to borrow money, that means you're not good with money. So, I'm not lending it. More than likely, I know I'm not getting it back. The only way I'm lending it out if it's like $20. But if it's more than that, no. And it's something that's common out here, which can be annoying, which also gets you burnt out is, chicks constantly asking you for stuff. And then, going into 2026 now, the thing is that Colombia in general, not just Medellin, but Medellin as well, every year it continues to surpass the previous year in tourism. So what does that mean? That means that Colombia and Medellin especially is getting more popular, which means more tourists are coming, which means more guys are coming. And I've been in situations where I've been on dates and, I've proposed to the girl, "Hey, let's go out to get coffee or let's go out for ice cream." Something simple. Even my barber, who's Colombian, who said, "Hey, those are the best two type of like first dates. Don't take a girl out to eat. Don't go do anything fancy. The first date should always be like coffee or, ice cream. Something super simple, a park, something that doesn't require a lot of money." This is how, what the Colombian men think and how they move on dates. So what happens with all the foreigners coming out here? All these guys are coming out. They want to go to the best restaurants. They want to, see other parts of Colombia. And a lot of these guys, they don't want to do it alone. So what do? They go on Tinder or Bumble, or whatever girl they cold approach. They, get their number, talk to them, and the first thing they do is they invite them out to one of the high-end restaurants here in Poblado, in Runico, or Ritual, or Mamba Negra, or whatever. They invite them out to those type of restaurants. So um, what's starting to happen, and I've seen it happen with me, is that I'll invite a girl out to a basic date, and she'll hit me with, oh, um, I don't like doing those type of things, or like, for example, in the past, the girl I invited out to go eat hamburgers, like at one of my favorite hamburger spots here. She's like, oh, I don't like hamburgers. Why? Because now the options here for the Colombian women is vast. It's almost as equal as a girl in the United States who's a six who got a million dudes hitting her up. It's the same thing here. And you got to remember that you're not only competing with other foreigners, you're competing with other Colombians as well. And for the women that are really, really beautiful, you're competing with the narco traffickers. Your competition is the 50-year-old or 60-year-old dude who has a disposable income. A guy I met here, he runs a veterinary clinic. He has a girl who I would consider at most a 5 or a 4. I don't consider her pretty at all. This guy, within 4 months, spent about 20 grand on this girl. The whole time, this girl is still dealing with her ex-boyfriend and still fucking her ex-boyfriend. And this guy, he doesn't know. He's an American, black dude, older, in his 60s. Which brings up another, I guess, topic here, is that in general, Colombia has the number 2, or is the number 2 country when it comes to cheating culture. So there's a lot of cheating here. It's one of the craziest things. A good friend of mine, he's been living here 15 years, and something that he would always tell me is, like, you got to ask these girls, do they have a boyfriend? Because a lot of times they just won't tell you if you don't ask. And, you'll talk to them, invite them out to eat or something, and they, you won't find out they have a boyfriend until you're trying to, escalate and move things forward. And they're like, oh, I have a boyfriend. And when you're like, oh, well, why didn't you tell me? Oh, well, you didn't ask. You get that here. Or you'll just get the girls in general, if they think they found a better opportunity than what they have currently with their boyfriend, they're going to pursue that option. I've met guys who have told me they've been dealing with girls who have boyfriends here almost once or twice a month. So cheating is very very prevalent here. It's actually I would say it's considered part of the culture. And don't even think about getting into a long distance relationship, because that's not going to work. Over 80% of long distance relationships fail. So if you're thinking of that, or you're currently in a long distance relationship, the unfortunate part is, and especially if you're sending this girl money, she more than likely has a Colombian boyfriend. And the biggest thing is you just got to think about it this way. You have needs, she has needs. She still wants to go out and party and do stuff. And, if you're not here to take her out to do that, she's going to find somebody who will. Now, everything I'm saying in this video does not apply to every girl. There are good girls here in Medellin and in Colombia in general. All I'm saying is those are very far few in between. And the best girls, the absolute best girls, are not going to be the ones who are 9s and 10s. They're going to be the girls who are 4s and 5s, usually. They're going to be the girls who are average looking, who have a job. These girls, when you come here and you go to the mall or you go to the gym and you see these girls that are at the gym at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m. or 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., something like that in the middle of the day. These are all the girls that are monetized. These are not what I would consider the best type of women to pursue, because they most of the women who are not at a day job, if they're and don't get me wrong, of course there are girls who could be out at a mall on their day off, but in general, usually if these girls are not at work, and women work long hours here, they work generally from like early in the morning to at night. It's anywhere between 8 to 12 hours. So girls you just see randomly, and the nines and tens you aren't going to see out that much, but when you do, it's normally in the middle of the day. So these girls don't have a job, and it's like, okay, well, if they're not out at a job, how are they supporting themselves? They have sponsors, they have sugar daddies, they have guys that are sending them money. I've met quite a few girls who most guys would consider a 9 or 10, and these girls are, they have guys that are sending them $4,000 a month. In some cases, some of these women are having guys sending them money and stuff and gifts they've never met before. So, you have a mixture of all these things that play a part in dating here in Medellin, which is why I always suggest to you guys it is better to go to a Barranquilla, go to the coast, go to the coffee region. The coffee region is so untapped. I mean, you hardly will find any other foreigners out there. There are a few veterans as well, but it's not going to be anything near the amount of guys that are here in Medellin. So, I want to wrap this video up. I want to wrap this video up by saying, if you're thinking about coming to Medellin, there are far better options. If you are already familiar with Colombia, if you've traveled here for a while and you haven't been to Medellin yet, you just want to see Medellin, great, sure. It's definitely worth checking out. But it is cooked as far as when it comes to dating here. I mean, it's extremely hard, and in my opinion, you don't go. You're not traveling to a different country to go somewhere to where you're not the big fish in a small pond. And here in Medellin, you are just another fish in a big pond. So, and the reason why a lot of these guys are making the exceptions, as I said, to deal with girls who are what I would consider less desirable. See, I got like a weird shade thing going on here. Is because the pretty women, they, like I said, a lot of them, they're going to have kids. A lot of these women are going to be involved in sex work, either OnlyFans or actual prostitutes. And I've met quite a few guys here who knew women, these women were prostitutes, and still decided to get into relationships with them. Guys who knew women who had kids and still decided to get in relationships with them. And the thing is just because the really, really beautiful women here that everybody wants, these women are not easy to come about. And the main thing is this too, is that Colombian women are very freaky. They're very sexual, and a lot of guys, have this whole thing about body count. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you with this statement. A lot of the Colombian women here are ran through. You are not going to come to Colombia and find yourself a virgin. This is what everybody seems to be like. Oh, I want a girl with a low body count. No, the girls here is almost the same in the States. They're having sex young here too. When I was back in my dating phase before I got into a relationship with my girlfriend now, I hardly had any girls ever ask me to use a condom. I think out of the time that I've been here, maybe 3 max. And I would say at one point I was meeting and dating maybe 2, 3 women a month. And these are normal women, not working girls, because I just don't do the whole pay for play thing. But a lot of these girls are ran through. So, like I said, to end this video, a lot of guys are coming here thinking that you're going to find something special, but the truth is a lot of the women are ran through. They have kids, they're heavily tattooed, they're cheaters. It's not like you're coming here and you're getting the cream of the crop, you know, as a black man. So that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Like and subscribe, and until the next one, be safe.